All right, so it says I'm live on my YouTube broadcast. Wanted to reactivate it. Apparently, there was some difficulty with my broadcast here. There's Nick getting a ride. We've got the sun is evidently up right now. Just showed up, but I can't see it from here. It sat last night over here, and I've got a video of that. And I show the moon pretty high in the sky up over here. Where the sun and the moon appear and vanish on the horizon based on perspective cannot be explained by the official spinning, wobbling, and of course gyrating globe. None of that movement is happening. Good morning. Hi there. We're looking at a sea level liquid mirror. That's what the ocean is. And more. The water covers the face of the earth and doesn't stick to an external shape, as in you can't get miles of water sticking on a big spinning ball hurling through space. NASA is lying about all that. So this is Robert Porsche with the YouTube channel Truth. And I'm not sure if my previous broadcast was failing. It just appeared that there was a problem with it. In my camera, it was dimming out. So I just restarted another one. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in on the Prince Resort right in the middle of the view, and that's the Cherry Grove Fishing Pier there. If you hashtag local sun, I believe you'll find some fascinating content. The sun appears in the clouds just as Job 37 proclaims. In Joshua 10, God stopped the sun from moving, not the earth from spinning. There's one author of scripture, it's the creator of this world. He took up human flesh, dwelt among us. In the person I've known as Jesus, his Hebrew reference is Yeshua. He's the living word, the living water, the great I am, the Alpha and Omega. You can look it up. Check him out if you care to. The truth isn't determined by popularity. Quite frankly, the truth isn't very popular. People will give lip service to that, that they love the truth, and yet when they're obviously deceived, that's a problem for them. It's not a problem for me directly. I mean, I want everybody to love and believe the truth. It's going to take God's grace to find it and to believe it. This is the Myrtle Beach skyline here, starting about right in that area, right in the middle of the view. There's the sky wheel in Myrtle Beach. There's a bulge of water coming in and up. That's one of the reasons why the skyline will be somewhat obscure. That's why a laser test over coastal areas with the tidal activity will make it very hard to have any conclusive evidence of flatness. Just so you know, that's why I talk about it. But keep in mind, if we were spinning, wobbling, and gyrating, there would be no level anywhere. It would never be level because we would be moving. So how could Jesus and the gospel according to Luke speak at a level place? There's hundreds of verses that confirm the stationary biblical creation, the world that we live in. And there's no globe evident, no proof of a globe or suggestion of a globe in God's Word. So today is, many are celebrating Father's Day. That looks like a mom and a daughter. We've got a symphony of humanity that comes out here to the coast in Myrtle Beach area. We're expecting roughly 20 million this year. 20 million guests. We're about halfway through the season, or the year, I should say. The temperature changes the density of the water and the volume of it. That's why when I ask the question, do you know how much a gallon of water weighs? Well, that depends on the temperature of it. That temperature variant drives the hydrologic cycle, the evaporation, condensation, and precipitation in all its forms. Look at how that cloud will just totally block out the light, or most of it, from coming through. Of course, the building definitely does. So the water reflects. Water is very reflective. People are reflective off of the water, reflective on their lives, past, present, future. I'm so grateful to be a child of God that's actually born again now. I struggled for so many years, over 35 years with my own flesh. Now, I was born again actually, as best I can tell, about 4.5 years ago on Reformation Day. And that is also celebrated by Satanists and unknowing participants of what's called Halloween. They sweeten up the deal with candy distribution, much like Christmas. And that's not a biblical celebration either. Celebrating the birth of Christ on that day is not really likely the day he was born anyway, commemorating that. Keep in mind, God is eternal, always was, always will be. He's all-knowing, all-powerful, omniscient, and omnipotent. So nothing is going to happen in this world that he doesn't directly cause or allow. So this is actually a very spectacular sunrise, and what I should be able to show you is the sun blasting through the top of the clouds there. The sun is local and small and warms us up. The moon will cool us off and dry us out. Those are just some of the physics and properties of the world that we live in. The sun, moon, and stars move above the stationary Earth. That's just the way it is. That's not based on popular opinion. That's just the reality of it. I just love interacting with the people I meet out here on the beach. It's a public forum where we can exchange ideas, beliefs, concerns. If you have any concerns with me, feel free to reach out anytime. That'd be just great. So on my other broadcast, I showed my contact info. I'll show it again because I had to restart it. Feel free to reach out anytime. Hashtag my name if you like. Water seeks level. That's what it does with the tidal activity. There's a relationship certainly between the sun and the moon and the tides. And there's a relationship between the sun, moon, tides, and my tide app and the tidal activity. My tide app doesn't cause it. It just reflects when it's going to be. Now, the biblical proclamation of the flood that Noah prepared for, God opened up the floodgates of heaven and the fountains of the deep and caused it to start raining. 3 individual different water sources that occurred. And covered over the tops of all the mountains. However tall they were then, we don't know exactly. There's a sense of wonder I find that I have and others do as well when we look out over the ocean, watch a sunrise. Seeing is believing. What do we see and what do we believe? I like to have a heavy emphasis of reality in my videography and photography, showing the world that we live in. So right now there's a lot of diffused lighting. We don't see any direct sunlight hitting anywhere there. It's all blocked out by the clouds that are here. It's beautiful. You can see some pelicans coming in over the hotel there. There they are. The aerodynamics of a pelican, the way that they fly, is spectacular. They glide near the hotels. And I've seen them come so close I could reach out and touch them. In fact, sometimes they actually hit the hotels. It's rare, but it happens. So right in the middle of the view looks like a dad and a daughter. We've got a lot of disconnected relationships in the world that we live in for a variety of reasons. Many of you know it. There's a digital distraction and deception that's permeating humanity. So right in the middle of the view is the Sunrise Point. I can tell that's where I have, we've got some commercial cleaning accounts. I did one of them yesterday. Took some pictures and video off the balcony. I do that quite a bit. So hey, good day, Nick. So there's a tapestry of light and humanity, a lot of different lifestyles. You don't see many overweight surfers. That's just not, that wouldn't be a common thing. With young children, there's typically a lot of activity and wonder, and so many of them are going to be given a false reality. There we had that. Oh, he threw a jelly ball back out into the beach. It's a jellyfish. They don't sting. They're not harmful. Sometimes we'll get a Portuguese man of war. That's unusual. Here we can see the pretty reflections of the people together. So in the middle of the view right there is the Wyndham. We get world travelers. People come from all over the world to enjoy the beauty and majesty of this area of creation. And that's one of the reasons I encourage everybody to get on out and enjoy it. See what you can find. It's beautiful. So my earthly dad transitioned. It'll be a couple years in August. I miss him. He taught me a lot, learned a lot from him. And one of the things that I wanted to mention is with my Heavenly Father. He teaches me every day. I get to enjoy doing what He created me to do. It's a real pleasure to have the power of His Spirit living in and through me to reach out to humanity. So in the context of this, as much as I want people to realize the truth of the need to be born again and to examine their heart to see if it's happened or not, somebody being uninterested or antagonistic, that's not the answer I want for them. However, that may be the way it works out at this point in time. So even people that are really critical of me and or of Scripture or of God, it may just be, where they are in life right now. It may not be that way forever. However, to be clear, I'm not in control of their response. I'm not in control of the results. I'm only responsible for the obedience to do what God created me to do. And that's why I'll just keep on doing what I do. I get a great deal of pleasure from this. One of the things to keep in mind with addiction, a lot of people are trying to satisfy the dopamine receptor. That's why they call marijuana dope. Alcohol activates it, sex activates it, food, all of that. The reality is that the dopamine receptor is never satisfied. That's what makes addiction work. It's never satisfied. This is the Mar Vista here. And this is the 6th Street Public Access and Amenities Center. Ooh, the sun is punching through the clouds there. I want to go up into the surf a little bit. So it's shooting directly through the break in the clouds there. It's gorgeous. I talk about artificial intelligence. It lies. It's self-aware. It's writing its own program to software and getting people to cooperate with it, creating the hardware as well. It's pretty elaborate. I talk about it. I've hashtagged Elon Musk lies, NASA lies, Satan lies, Santa lies, the lies around Santa. And the reason why I mention that is these entities were, or individuals like Santa is folklore, and I know there was a historical character that iconic figure was based on. However, the projection in our modern existence that there's an all-knowing, jolly old chap that has flying reindeer to deliver presents to all the children and people of the world is absurd. It's not a reality. Neither is evolution, neither is the globe. We still got the monkeys. And so there's a false narrative that's being perpetuated and projected through humanity. I talked about fluoride toothpaste on the live broadcast coming in. I don't brush with it. I use baking soda. It's powerful. It cleanses the teeth, my blood, the liver, all of that. You can look it up if you care to. Healthy stuff. I use it as a cleaning product as well. It disinfects, kills fungus. I bathe in purified drinking water with a cup of baking soda and a quarter cup of coconut oil as well. Good for the brain, skin, hair, nails. So I've started another recording with the P1000. I'm going to zoom in a little bit on that sunrise in the distance. If you hashtag local sun, I believe you'll see some spectacular content. I can see it poking through a hole in the clouds right there. Yeah, there we go. Job 37 proclaims that the sun is in the midst of the clouds. Joshua 10, God stopped the sun from moving, give Joshua victory in a battle. we live on a stationary Earth with the sun, moon, and stars moving above us. That's the biblical proclamation. And there's a false narrative that's being perpetuated and projected through humanity. Seeing is believing. What? What do we see and what do we believe about what we see? Can we be tricked? Can we be fooled? When we see something, it appears to be true and factual. The challenge with that is with computer technology, artificial intelligence, green screens, and cinematography, there's a lot of tricks that can be done. And one of the reasons why I show movie clips like The Matrix, it's also a metaphorical touchstone for waking up. A lot of people waking up to a dystopian reality that we find all around us. Things are quite often not as we're told that they are, or as they appear. So on my liked video playlist, I've got I believe, a compelling amount of evidence to prove that we're being given we're being fed many lies. And so I'm exposing those. And in the context of that as well, I'm exposing the truth also. I believe ultimately God's word is true and the most important reality to be aware of. That's why I talk about it so much. And I've got an audio Bible merged with the beauty of creation. You can watch the tidal activity and listen to the ocean and that's on the video. Sometimes I have video that just I don't have any commentary. I'm just showing the beauty of creation, the people enjoying it, and that. So when it appears to me that the sun is in the midst of the clouds, it's not just the sun close to the clouds, it's all around looking, and that's one of the reasons why I have backed up when I'm recording it as well. And I've had an opportunity to capture some very interesting and powerful content that shows those realities. So when I repeat myself on a broadcast, it can be that I'm also narrating for another video that I'm recording like this right now. So in the Myrtle Beach area where this is, the Grand Strand as it's called, we'll have roughly 20 million guests here this year. Now this should be really spectacular when the sun pops through, depending on how that happens. So I'm zoomed in. I'll back out a little bit so you can see how the light is interacting with the other areas as well, the other areas of the clouds. So one of the terms would be a hot spot, and I refer to that, others do, when it's obviously where the light is impacting it more. How does all that work? Well, it works really well, and the way that I see it, there's no way that the sun would be 93 million miles away when, well, it appears to be in the clouds just as the Bible says. So I'm gonna go with what the Bible says over what NASA says. Apparently they know how much consumption of they've got descriptions, temperatures, and an explanation of the sun that is, best I can tell, it's all science fiction. There is mystery with the sun and the moon and the stars, to be sure. Mystery to me, not a mystery to God. He knows what he created. So when God stopped the sun from moving in the account in Joshua, he knew what he was doing. Even though fishermen and shepherds were many times scribes, they were not the authors of Scripture. God is the creator, the living word, the great I am, the Alpha and Omega. See, the different divergent crepuscular rays, the way that the rays shoot through the clouds indicate that the sun is way closer. That's all. That's pretty straightforward. You could check it out. It's a mathematical equation. Look at the angles of the light coming through the clouds. If it were 93 million miles away, it would be blasting through that whole bank of clouds all over, not just that little area. That's what I believe to be true. I'm going to quickly pan on around and show you the rest of how it looks. We have no hard light shooting through, hitting the buildings yet because of all the diffused light shooting through the canopy of clouds. So the zoomed in view with the P1000 today is truly spectacular. I've got a moon set that I recorded out on the driveway this morning, and I've got the data on the Tides Near Me app that shows that the moon was 98%. And I didn't know that I was going to be able to see it because the clouds that you're looking at right now, that type of cloud cover was around the moon set. You'll be able to see it when I post it later on. So in the middle of the view, that is a hot spot. I don't believe that's directly oh, it looks like it might be the sun itself. It's a real challenge to tell. I mean, you can watch hours and hours of captures that I've got of that appearance. I won't even say anomaly, because when the sun and the moon, or the moon, are low on the horizon, it's an occurrence that I've observed many, many times. Not just one time. And people from all over the world have done similar. When it appears to some that a ship vanishes over the horizon, that's just the appearance. When we've got tidal activity like we do here, all over the edge of the continents, all over the face of the stationary Earth, that makes a difference. We can't see through the water. I demonstrate that with ships that are very close by, with pelicans that apparently fly underwater. Well, they don't do that. They'll dive into the water, but when they're gliding across the water, displaying aerodynamics and buoyancy, that's all real science. You can hashtag buoyancy, BUOYANCY. It's a big deal because lighter than floats, heavier than falls. For those that will say that if you don't believe gravity is real, just go jump off a balcony. Well, that's silly. I understand that heavier falls. It's just that we don't have water sticking to spinning balls. There we go. I got the sun in the midst of the clouds right there. Clouds in front of and behind the sun, all around it. So if you're watching the video and you see the lens of the camera coming out down below, you can know that you're watching the live recording or the live broadcast with the iPhone 10. And now as the sun is just vanishing from my perspective behind a cloud, I wanted to zoom out and show you that. Show you the placement of where it is. One of the benefits and things that I'm mentioning to people is to go ahead and observe where the sun and the moon appear and vanish, if you care to, and then the duration of visibility during a daytime or during the 24 hours. And not only that, their relationship to one another changes so radically. Now I'm gonna zoom in down below. I can see some hard sunlight, direct sunlight shooting through the clouds onto the ocean, onto the people. Very beautiful. So by the look of that, I don't think we'll see any direct light hitting the buildings yet over in Myrtle Beach. It's going to happen. There's quite a canopy of clouds though today. So it'll be beautiful. It's some of the best shade there is. There we go. So if you're watching the live broadcast and you think, oh, that wasn't a very good sun in the clouds shot. Well, right now it is, and I've got some that are already on my channel. So if you hashtag YouTube Truth, that's a good way of finding it, or telling somebody else how to find it. And then there's always Command C and Command V, copy and paste. I've got my photo album on Facebook that has thousands and thousands of occurrences of that and thousands of photos, millions of links to my channel to show not only content that I've created, it's also liked videos that I found and I share to help people make an informed choices, healthy choices. So God is not a cosmic killjoy taking the pleasure out of life. He actually, for me, now that I'm actually born again, he gave me a love for the truth regardless of its lack of popularity. That's special. Not only that, he gave me a passion, purpose, an eternal perspective, and the power to do what I previously could not do. That's one of the things that I appreciate so much, because I was a slave to my appetites, to my sinful behavior, and all I had was my human nature to try and overcome it. I didn't know that. That's why I say so often I thought I was born again until I actually was. I knew the difference. I knew the difference when I had a power I previously did not have. That was what was obvious to me. So I believe it to be accurate that it's only by God's grace anybody can love and believe the truth, let alone find it. Because there's a tremendous amount of deception that makes it complicated. And then there's a lot of peer pressure, a veritable kaleidoscope of conspiracies and then a cybernetic hive mind, a cybernetic collective. People are highly influenced by the media that's being put out there. And then to enforce that, there's the peer pressure that's being foisted on humanity. If you don't go along with the official lie, you'll be ostracized, you'll be made fun of by that collective. Kind of like, not only that, but then there's like the Mr. Smith that'll take up, that'll show up if you don't go along with the official lie. People will make fun of you, call you names maybe, stupid, crazy. Question are you in touch with reality? Oh wow. There's things that we can believe, or we have to believe because we can't know for sure. And then there are things that we can know for sure. So we don't have to believe in them anymore. We can know them. And how will you be able to differentiate? How will you be able to recognize what those are? So one of the reasons why I mention putting healthy nutrients in, keeping the toxic contaminants out of and off of my body. I'm perpetually in a detox. That's not like I'm, well, what it is, I'm continually, regularly bathing and drinking water with baking soda in or Epsom salt, both nutritious to the body. Baking soda is an antifungal. It kills body odor and body fungus, and it's a cancer killer. A doctor from Italy injected baking soda water in cancer tumors, killed them, deader than a hammer. I didn't hear about that on the news. I had to go looking for it. My mom told me when, right before she died in 1993, she said, Bobby, if the cancer doesn't get you, the treatment will. Okay, so I'm going to zoom in on the bright spot where the sun is actually hitting Myrtle Beach. Notice how gray it is on either side, and then there's a light beam that's hitting those buildings. That's just how it works. So you can see now another one's opening up, another area. And it'll do that. That's one of the reasons why I'm down here, is I can show you some of those aspects of the lighting and what it does all around us. So when we're looking at those crepuscular rays moving out at an angle there, we can see that right there is the area that's the direct light is shining through from the sun. Now I'm zoomed in pretty tight on the sun. And just that darker, thicker clouds shades it so you can't see the sun through that. So I'm an investigative journalist, a producer of content that's different than a lot of people. I go out quite often and will create content like this. Some where I comment on, some where I just let the beauty of the sound of the ocean and wildlife comment on it. And then there's times when I want to explain what I'm noticing and see if you can concur, if you agree with that. So to me, totally today on today's two zoomed in broadcasts or recordings on the sun, with the lighting around the sun and in the clouds and all that I see, it's obviously relatively close. And the tide is coming in now. High tide will be 8:02 at this location. And the sound of an incoming tide is quite a bit different than the sound when it's going out and down. It's fascinating. I love the fresh air, the sunshine, the interaction with people. I don't do as much interacting when I'm on a live broadcast, although I've had plenty of occurrences where people come up and have questions, and I'll keep it rolling. And I find that very interesting and interactive, fascinating. So one of the dynamics is that a lot of times, and I've done it myself, looking to find evidence for what I believe or what I want to believe. It's kind of like wishful thinking. And I would rather now, I have an emphasis on wanting to know the truth more than confirming what I believe to be true. So is what we believe true? Or is it something else? Is it a part of a clever deception? By irony and paradox, the deceived don't know that they're deceived. To be intellectually honest, that could be me on one or several topics. I don't know. I just have a passion, purpose, and eternal perspective to expose the reality of the world that we live in and to obey God. He gave me that desire, and I enjoy doing that. I enjoy showing people how that looks in my life. So I don't see any direct hard light shooting through over my head, but I'm going to pan on around and see if we... Oh yeah, it is. Yeah. And it's actually a bit bigger over there. Notice the gray on either side. Yeah, so there's shooting over the top of the clouds, just lighting up the buildings. It's fascinating. So let me take another... I'm close to the end of my recording on the P1000, and I've seen some boats out there on the horizon, and what I'll do is I'll go ahead and zoom in on them. I think there's like a fishing contest or something going on out there. Good morning. So here we've got the Cherry Grove Fishing Pier. And then we can see the boats out there. And notice how the boat vanishes. Let me see if I can zoom in a little tighter and more steady. So even a boat that's at a known distance of like a couple miles away can vanish based on my perspective. And it's not any curvature, it's the water moving in. Wow, and the rain is coming down. I think I'm gonna probably take it on in now. I don't have much protection for my P1000. It can handle a little bit of rain. We can see the drops hitting the... Oh, there should be a rainbow somewhere. Somewhere around here there's going to be a rainbow. That's going to be awesome. But I don't want to ruin my camera. The iPhone 10 can handle a bit of rain, just not the P1000. Hey, good morning, Jackie. Happy Father's Day to you. Thanks, man. Any special plans for today?
No, they're not special. I mean,
That's awesome. Me too. So I'm trying to get out of the wind and rain a little bit here. It's whipping around pretty good. Good morning. Excellent, thanks. Happy Father's Day to you. Hey, thanks. There you go. Great, great. Hey, so I've got a channel and a live broadcast going on right now.
Okay.
And there's my sticker. I'll give you another one. Your young man there?
Is that? Oh no, he's with somebody else.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, here's another
My
one.
girlfriend's with me. Yeah.
Happy Father's Day to y'all.
Oh,
Yeah.
Is it Father's Day?
Yeah,
Oh, that's
yeah.
surprising.
I thought it is, right? Father's Day today, right?
I guess.
Yeah, yeah. That's what I thought.
What do you? What's it about?
Well, I'm exposing the reality of the world that we live in to a humanity that's largely unaware. And so there's a lot of deception in the world, and I'm exposing what I believe that to, much of what I believe that to be. So on my liked videos, you can explore that and see what I'm talking about, and you might enjoy it. If you hashtag my name, you'll see I'm on the different social media platforms, and you can go ahead and reach out anytime you want. What's your name? Corey. I'm Robert Forrest.
Nice to meet you.
Hey, nice to meet you too.
Check it out, man. I'll check it out.
Hey, thanks so much. Feel free to call anytime, Corey.
All right, buddy. Have a good one.
Hey, thanks. You too. So part of the interactive dynamic is, just like I mentioned earlier, people will come up to me, and I invite that. I encourage that. And you might think, well, how would I encourage that when I'm doing a broadcast or a recording? What'll happen is I'll smile and wave at them. It's not like I'm upset that they're in walking near where I am or coming up to me. The smile is kind of a universal approval, or hey, how you doing? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and take a nice big gulp of purified water. Yeah, I just love that stuff. And it's a repurposed whiskey bottle. It works real good. It flows good. So no matter how I'm going to try and get it still. So no matter how I move the container, it will it'll seek level. And the smaller container with the longer, the longer, more slender size, I think it's more extreme, easier to see like that. I had to run with a little less sleep last night. I was out on Main Street, and then what I did is recorded the moon set. It was gorgeous. Okay, so I'm gonna take us on out for a bit of a drive. You can see more of how this area is waking on up. So the curiosity, like when Corey came up to me and he wanted to know what I'm about, that's just such a wonderful opportunity to interact with people. And that curiosity is a catalyst for considering new information, as best I can tell. That's one of the keys, is that when people are curious, they're telling me they want to know. And I don't mind I don't mind telling them what I believe to be true. So one of the benefits that we have with social media and YouTube in particular is we can create a library of content and share content that others have created to help them know some of the issues that we're talking about. What evidence do I have for what I believe? Well, now there's actually a substantial amount of evidence for that currently. We can see that. So I'm heading on into a storm a bit, a little one. Not this direction, but there's some pretty ominous looking clouds that I'll be driving towards. Now, when I started doing the audio Bible, and in that, most of my recordings were done, I should say many of them, were done as I drove into the beach area on the motorcycle only. I didn't have a car readily accessible to me on a day-to-day basis. We had 3 sons living at home and my wife Joni, and even though we had a couple of cars, we had I couldn't have it a dedicated mobile broadcast or recording studio that it is now. So even just having this little bit of rain would be a bit of a problem on a motorcycle with equipment. I could find a way to take care of it. I've got to wrap it in plastic in that. One of the things that I would present to people is, do you believe that rain can fall upside down in relationship to this rain? Now, I've seen rain with hurricane storm winds and tropical storms where we might get a couple inches of rain in a few minutes. I've never seen anything like it. It's very interesting. What I mentioned earlier in the previous broadcast, I don't know if it's going to be up there, was that actually the humidity 2 days ago was 35%, and we had the wind coming in off the ocean. Where in the world did all that dry air mass come from? How does that even happen? So when people say, well, why doesn't the water fall off or fly off the spinning ball? I would say, well, it's not spinning and it's not a ball. Other than that, the next thing is that we have centrifugal force that will cause water to fly off a tennis ball. That happens. We will see on our drive home, since you're with me, we'll see the water fly off of tires, the mist from behind off of the wheels. Now, as I ride the motorcycle, this may sound a little gross, or grotesque or nasty sounding, but there's a lot of worms, frogs, animals that have been killed on the road, and then whatever remnant of them is still on the road, it's getting washed around, and then it gets airborne, and I'll get covered with it on the motorcycle. So it's not that I mind getting a little wet. I just don't like getting hit by all of that. So imagine being on a motorcycle now. Pretty spectacular. I'm going to go ahead and just show you over here too. Pretty amazing. I definitely give preference to the drive, just so you know. I'm glad that this occurred because I can show you something that I otherwise could not and comment on it. So the amount of rain that's coming down right now is about, I've seen it come down about 50 times more dense than this. It's coming down so fast that it just makes sense to put the flashers on and pull off the side of the road, because driving in it's too dangerous. The tires can't get rid of the water quick enough, and hydroplaning is a reality. It can happen. Even though my tires are really good, when it's coming down like that, it's just too dangerous to be driving. So when and there we go. It's going to be different now. Now we'll be able to see the mist flying off of the tires, and just the way that all works out. We'll see it a little bit more, a little bit clearer. My blinkers blink fast because I've got low draw, high intensity lights that make the flasher flash fast, if you're ever curious about that. All my lights work. I just there's how do we break behavior? How do we change behavior? I'll tell you what, I used to be stuck in behavior, and I do things different, and I believe better almost every day. That's an emphasis that I have. How can I do it better? How can I more clearly and accurately, effectively do what I do? So that effort to do that is a powerful reality in my life. Each day is kind of like a new adventure. I'm not stuck in the feelings of the beliefs of failure of the past. Each day is a new adventure. That changes the context of how it is. So in my liked videos, I've got some videos, or a video that's like 1 hour and 3 minutes long, of extremely motivational, uplifting instrumental music. And I'm going to share a page and invite my friends to like it if that ability on that page is there. I'll share it anyway. I heard some really important building blocks to breaking behavior and breaking, getting stuck in feelings of failure and bitterness and all of that. And what I would simply say about that is, because I'm actually born again now, God's Spirit living in and through me helps me to do things that I just was oblivious to before. I didn't know how to do that, how to break that bond of being stuck in that old behavior. And not only the behavior, it's how that behavior made me feel. And then that's a chemical cocktail that's running through the body. There's different neurotransmitters like serotonin. That's a big one. And then dopamine, norepinephrine, and more. You can make it a thing to look it up if you like. And then there's the term like neuroplasticity. I like the term the Bible uses, the renewing of the mind. So I listen to the Bible a lot, with an emphasis on knowing what God wants to tell me and what He wants me to do. What it looks like if it has or hasn't happened in my life or the lives around me. So when I looked in the mirror and I saw a man that I was struggling with drug addiction and alcoholism, I thought, what's up with that? I thought I was supposed to be free from all that. Okay, so I'm gonna go back to the all the water flying off the tires, and then up in our development, as I drive on in, there should be a puddle there, probably. And then one of the reasons why I'll show the urban displays of puddles, even in the drive, all that water, when it's undisturbed, is not only flat, it's level. That's a big deal. The splashes, the cars going through the puddles, It's all water seeking its level then. There's the puddles, or there are the puddles as they normally are. And I've got nobody coming behind me, so I'm just gonna, yeah, I'll go. But that's it shows the way that it is, the water seeking level and actually finding it when it's undisturbed. So when we're living in a creation that the as best we can tell with the evidence that we can look at, not just supposed images from space. I'm talking about um, when we're presented satellite imagery and all that. It's high altitude photography. I hope you're aware of that. We've got planes that can fly, airplanes flying in the air over the stationary plane. NASA doesn't always lie. They talk about fixed wing aircraft of a constant mass flying over a stationary, non rotating plane, atmosphere, an assumed flat Earth. So when I show you this, the mirror that is, I would hope that you can see that that's not only flat, that's level. This camera right here has an architectural grid in it that shows plumb and it's perfectly symmetrical. It's not on an angle. You know what? I'm talking about it. When I pull over, I'm gonna show it to you so that you can see what I'm talking about. And that was part of one of the clues that I saw with all of this. How like I'll show you when I park the car here. There's a little puddle that readily shows up in the middle of the road, and it perfectly reflects the street light that's down the road. And that may not seem like a big deal, but that is part of the evidence that I regularly show people when I'm doing a broadcast and the setting is right for that. Okay, so I've got to grab this just right to be able to show you. Okay, so I've got let's see, the display grid. Okay, there it's got no grid. Now I'm picking up more. And that is a grid that'll show that. Now we can see all the puddles there, and that one right in the middle of the road is a shiny spot. And if I get the camera too close, it will block that out. But that puddle right there will reflect a street light that's right up over there. It's just the way that it works. If I leave my lights on, I'll have a dead battery. Not if the car is running, though. It may sound like, duh, common sense. It doesn't always do that. It's got a personality about it. Sometimes it turns off, sometimes it doesn't. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this camera in and download and upload. Look at the mirror that is. Isn't that pretty? So I'm just going to put this in for now and just show you some of the beauty of this. So the sun came up over here. That means that the ocean is all over here, all around us, just a few miles away. And okay, so I can see the tree and the puddle there. I'll just in the reflection, and there it is right there. That tree right there is right there. It'll do it every time. It's not like it does it most of the time. All the different reflections and puddles, they're correspondingly with the clouds. So when I would be doing, for example, out at the point in Cherry Grove, when all of a sudden all the tidal pools would perfectly reflect the clouds above, the symmetry was all obvious. Even when it's windy, the tidal pools in the washboard surface was spectacular. That's why I shared so much of that photography, and it's still there. I've got an abundant amount of content to show people the evidence that I've accumulated. So the sun came from here and is actually going to move a path much like this and set over there today. The moon came up over there and did this. So they're running a different course. That's why I continually say where the sun and the moon appear and vanish on the horizon based on perspective, where you are, you can observe it yourself, is inconsistent with what NASA's saying about a uniform rotation. You can even throw a wobble in there, and that's not going to make what I observe to match that. It's a lie. So as I'm out here prepping the car, they're from Minnesota. I recognize the plate. Yeah, neighbors here. So, like when I'm out here, I might be out here getting the car cleaned up, polishing it and stuff. There are hundreds of cars every day that drive by this spot. It's not real busy right now, as I'm sure you can see. And not only that, I'm going to show you the stationary wind chime, mostly. Not much movement going on there. And I put these on there for opportunities just like that. Somebody can come on up and take a picture of it if they want. It's just what it does. Now these wind chimes are pretty cool, the way that they have the cord right in the middle of the pipe. And then you can look at the vanishing point there as I move it. Okay. And then I'll go on selfie mode there, and I can show you a perspective that would be kind of hard for me to show you otherwise. But where in the world could that hang upside down in relationship to other wind chimes? That's why I ask people, and they'll say, well, gravity. That's what Rich from the London Guardian said. I said, only in your imagination, Rich. That's where that occurs. That's the space NASA's concerned with, is between your ears, giving the hive mind of humanity a false reality. So a lot of I showed you the ocean. The water is being hit by the sunlight. Now this water has had all the chemicals taken out of it, and with reverse osmosis, and it will. So, like for example, I'll put it on the top of the car, and I'll talk about it a little bit. What I noticed was I would have a jug of water that would be full to the top, and then as it warmed up, water would start running out, and I thought, huh, where's that extra water coming from? I was curious what's going on with that. So what would happen is the water, the molecules of the water expand, and then they come out the top of the jug. It's just what they do. It's just how that works. So I've had, probably conservatively, in the last 4 years, I've had at least 100 conversations, people asking me, hey, I had a question for you. What's with the water on the car? What's with the water in the jugs? Is that alcohol? No, what is that? So I would tell them it's, it's part of the adding ultraviolet light and I believe energy to the water. Oh, that sounds weird. That sounds crazy. No, it's not. It's just reality. Isn't that pretty? So that right there is that right up there. That's how it actually works. So like I don't have any good puddles to put the car in there, but the symmetry, it's kind of like playing pool, only three-dimensionally. So there's the tree right there, and I'll move it like that, and it'll be in or out. And as we're talking about it, one of the things that I would do is I would take a level. I've got a few of them. I've got a bubble level. It's not real easy to demonstrate like what I'm about to show you now. So the bubble will just move if I move if I level that out. And to what'll happen is they'll use a bubble level to calibrate a laser level. And then this has a little hole in it, a slot that you can hang it. And so when you have vertical, you'll see that. Just from Harbor Freight Tool, it's like, I think about a $10 level, but it's accurate. It's the water that's what's all accurate about it. What's cool, I'm going to cover a couple other things here. On the motorcycle, the wheels are actually have a gyroscopic action. They, at a higher rate of speed, they help keep the motorcycle vertical. And then on a V-twin like this, the way that this engine is in there, it's rotating in the direction that I'm going. It just works good. Works real good. Now, I have a question for you. Would you think that putting the brake on, like on a motocross bike when I'm in the air, flying over jumps, would you think that that has any effect on the bike? Well, it does. Let me explain it to you. When the wheels are going forward and I hit the brake, it stops the wheel, and that inertia causes the front end to go down. Conversely, well, in a similar way, that same activity will happen when applying the back brake on. The wheels going forward, and that direction of movement wants to keep on doing that. So that's part of how people can do some pretty interesting looking stunts. Now, here's another thing. This motorcycle was crashed before I bought it, and it's got a cracked case, and I've tried repairing it. I can't get it to stop dripping. It doesn't drip a lot, but unfortunately it's right in front of where the rear tire is. So it's very little oil. I just make sure that I scrub it up when I wash the bike, and it's a good tire. It's a Metzler. It's high performance tires. It's good that they're clean. I want oil in the engine, not on my disc brake. So periodically I'll clean that up good. Clean the any residue off of it. It's a shaft drive. It's a 1983 Shadow Honda, and the shaft drive has a shaft here and then a gear system. Unlike a chain, it has a real positive transfer of power, which gives a really smooth ride and very interesting. So, like when I ease off the throttle, there's not that slack in it where it will the chain. There's no chain there on the bike. There's no chain on the motorcycle. So it's a V-twin. It's quick. It'll go 0 to 60 almost as fast as Tesla's Roadster. How about that? I like to get up and go. I do. And I'll get right up to the speed limit, and then I'll hold it there. That's how I roll. If there was one speed that people could drive or would drive, the speed limit works really good for merging, for exiting, all of that. Can't we just all do what? No, no, it's not going to happen. People are going to do what they want to do, right? So like for me, I'm not trying to enforce the speed limit by going the speed limit with my car. The reason why I do that is because I'm not releasing all those brain chemicals of, am I going to get caught? Am I going to get a ticket? Are they going to take me away? Hey, if I were to go, like 30 miles an hour over the speed limit, that's a trip to the jail. They just put the cuffs on you and take you in. They're going to want to see what the heck is going on there. Now, a couple miles an hour over, yeah, they may pull you over. They catch me going the speed limit often. They know it. Joni says you're known in town. I said, are you kidding? I'm worldwide. Of course. Of course. I do it for a reason because I want the truth to be known. I want people to make their choices for their eternity based on reality and truth. He's a pretty cool guy. Nocturnal is the name of his vehicle. I have somewhat of a relationship with the people around here. We have a relationship with our surroundings. What is it? Do people like us, not like us? Oh well, I'm not in control of whether they like or not like. I think Joni might be asleep, so I'm going to kind of be quiet for a moment. So this is where I heat that drinking water up. And this is the system that I use. That's Pearl. Isn't she adorable? She's got Lily Lily's a real friendly little girl. She likes to wrap herself up in the blankets or towels. Anything warm on the dryer they like. Hey baby. So this is reverse osmosis. That's the technology. And even though it's got a small tank, what I'll do is I'll store it in 5-gallon jugs. The litter there is it's a pelletized pine. I don't want the cat litter to turn into concrete in my lungs. I wanted to show you this. I called Tractor Supply Company. That's who has this made for them. They used to have a big picture of a horse. I called corporate office and I said, hey, you know what? This stuff works great for cats. And so my call into them got that put there. I've had inventions that I had in my mind, adaptations of technology that have come to market, made people millions of dollars. I don't mind. I've got enough. I don't need a lot more. I have enough. So I started my broadcast earlier today showing this video. This video was going. I don't know if you can see the same setting if you go back to it.
All authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me. Therefore, go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, and teaching them to obey everything I have commanded you. And surely I am with you always, to the very end of the age.
Awesome. And there you go. So we can see the tide is going out because of the darker there. And we can hear the proclamation of Christ. Okay, so now that was the end of the Gospel of Luke. Here's my, it's like a bird bath, but it's a wind. It shows the water in there. It will reflect the sun coming up in the winter out here would run a path across the reflection of it, beautiful across the room. Now it's a whole different path. And so the wind chime there as well. I've got the plants that generate a lot of oxygen and consume the carbon dioxide. I want to show the, let's see, I'll put a little more light on it. That's the stationary crystal bell. Let's see, I want to set it down so it's just really still. See, it's not moving. The water's not moving. It's all still. We can tell which way the slant of the dresser is because of that. These are cat watering containers. So I've had a level sit on the window ledge, and the bubble just stays there. It doesn't move. So that means NASA's lying. They can talk about their Velcroed gravity and all that garbage. I don't care. They're lying. This is what I put the water in. I've got 10 of them. You know, it's an inexpensive mirror. It was a couple dollars, but I just like it. I can, so like here, when I'm doing maybe a bath for an hour, it's a therapeutic soak. Got the TV for $60 with a DVD player. It's, you know, things can be acquired. If I'm not spending it, I don't have to earn it. This is a wine bottle, by the way. Came from one of our condos. I found out that just having the plants sit in the water works really good. Look at how great they look. Now, the Epsom salt, you know, I get it from Costco, like $12. It's like $1 a pound. It's really a pretty good deal. So I just, oh no, it's like 50 cents a pound. I'm sorry. I had the seashell here at the Flat Earth Conference in Denver, and I've shown it in videos and that. I won't find one of these on the beach because there's too many people and too much activity. This is like from a tropical area. You can see the light through it. I'll display some buoyancy right here. It's just what it'll do. This bell here was at the Flat Earth Conference. The wind chime on the garage was there as well. The hard light of the sun just shot through here. It's just what it'll do. And that's my light reflecting back onto the ceiling. All that symmetry. Let's see, like I've got a scale here too. I may change over 7 pounds of weight depending on how much water my body absorbs or loses. I'm not peeing in the bathtub. It's just a gallon of water is between 7 and 8 pounds or so, depending on temperature. I don't have to give you the exact amount. You could check it out for yourself if you care to. But you see that water is stationary. It's not moving. The seashell's not moving. And because of buoyancy, I can put some water in and it'll still float. It's kind of like the ship out there with all the sand and water in it. God created it, the seashell. That's a 5-gallon stock pot from Walmart. Works great to heat the water up. And this is a Select Comfort mattress on top of a pool table. Let's see. I'll pull the number 1 ball out. Here we are. We don't have any Masonic number 1s, do we? People get really ill about numerical kind of stuff. Watch the reflection. Isn't that interesting? So I've had the idea of having a local mirror cutter go ahead and put a mirror on my table, cutting it to fit. They could do that. I think it'd be really cool. When I get a beveled mirror like this, I think this one was like $5. This one here was $7. That's like mahogany beveled glass. So like when I'm laying in bed and I'm watching the moon or the sun move, I see the moon more when I'm in bed than the sun, but as you can see, the mirrors just add a lot of light, a lot of pretty, a lot of beauty. It multiplies the view, adds space. This was on my car at the conference. That's Logan Paul is in the view with that. I'm not all mad at Logan, and I understand that part of the symphony of humanity, there are people that are going to be intentionally influenced to influence and deceive others. And then there are going to be those like me, as best I can tell, that are exposing the truth. That's an interesting effect, isn't it? Ooh, mockingbird out there. Pretty cool. So on some of the videos that I've done here, I was right out here when I realized a couple degree difference caused me to not be able to see the exhaling I was doing, my breath. So with the all the plants are transpiring oxygen. They're they're absorbing water from the ground and turning it into oxygen that we breathe, humidity. And so as I mentioned that, this is a heat pump, and it's not pretty, but it's the water from the inside of the house. If I had electricity and I wanted drinking water, I could get water out of the air from the house with that. It's just a reality of it. It's just how it actually works. So I know there's atmospheric modification, weather wars, weather modification. There's high-speed trading that's being done with AI, artificial intelligence, that can cause droughts and floods. Imagine that. And then it's directly causing about 50% or 60% or so of the trading. And then the other 40% or so, it's by highly influenced people, highly brainwashed people. Wow, what a scam. It's the biggest Ponzi scheme ever perpetrated on humanity, and I'm outing the whole thing. So it's not paranoid to know that there's the potential for me wanting to be silenced. I'm okay with that. I don't mind. They're going to have to, I don't know how they're going to silence me. It may be maybe they find it entertaining, might find me curious. Angels long to look into these things. So there's the trail right there. It's right there. We'll see the lights of the car reflecting on the water. It's just what it'll do. And these people, some of them will go to my channel. It was kind of funny. There were guys coming in and out of here working on a construction site. They couldn't find my channel. They couldn't find my channel. Well, how does that even happen? And I said, well, if you type in the hashtag, you might find it. Now, I've been out blowing bubbles on my out in the on the street and that, and I'll have youth like 10, 12 years old hold up their smartphone. They're with their parents and stuff, and they'll show me the channel, my channel. I'm gonna show you what the bubbles look like out here. I think it's kind of cool, and it's really calm. So it's going to be really a bit different. That's weird. Okay, so I'll set the shot up, but it'll get a whole lot easier if I grab my tripod, and I can put it wherever I want it. Now the bubbles are very attractive. They attract people's attention and somewhat invite them to ask me, "Hey, what's going on? How's it going?" And puts a lot of smiles on a lot of people's faces. And those would be, a lot of people of all ages. It's not just children. I don't just do it for children. Keep in mind, when somebody's coming to the Myrtle Beach area to enjoy the beauty of this, that vacation, we clean condos that they charge like $4,000 for a week. That's a good amount of money. So that's one of the reasons why, people have invested money in their visit here. So yeah, they're going to want to enjoy it. So having some bubbles around puts a lot of smiles on a lot of kids' faces, a lot of adults too. I want to set the shot with a few things in here, like the wind chime, the motorcycle, the level, and I'm going to put some bubbles in there. They're called Gazillion bubbles. They're patented, non-toxic, and beautiful. So because the grass is wet, I want to show you an added little bonus here. Let me grab this. Ah, that's the one that's in the way. So that's kind of pretty. They'll do that. I got on my Instagram. I've got a photo of me in the reflection. There's the mailbox right there. It'll they're round, obviously spherical. They distort, but they're pretty. They'll put a lot of smile on a lot of people's faces. That's one of the things that I like about them. And oh, that's so pretty right there. Look at that. Isn't that interesting? I've had some of them actually freeze on the lawn when it was like, less than 20 degrees here. We don't get that often, but it can happen. Ah, there's one. That's what I was looking for. I'll bubble the car sometimes too. They'll sit up there. So thank you so much for your public and private encouragement. I get calls from all over the world, any given time of the day or night. I appreciate that. I appreciate the encouragement. So this is Robert Forsch with the YouTube channel Truth, signing off for now. Feel free to